Hello friends, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. Today I'm doing a day in my life thrift with me video, so having a little breakfast beforehand. So our community was actually having a big yard sale on this day, so John had gone to the bank to get some money a few days prior, and we live in Canada, so our money is colorful, and it's also made from like a plastic type material, and it has these clear parts in it as well. Most of my viewers are not from Canada, so I thought it might be interesting to show you that. And I definitely do miss paper money though. This stuff kind of feels weird, but I guess it's more durable. Like I haven't had to tape a bill in a long time. But fives are also our smallest bill. So we have a $2 coin here in Canada since the 90s that we call the toonie. And then we have a dollar coin as well, I think since the late 80s, that we call the loonie, so that's why we call it the toonie. It's $2. Anyway, I thought that might be interesting to show. It was a super cloudy, looks like it's about to rain kind of day, and this had actually been like a rescheduled rain date, so there definitely wasn't as many people out as there were last year or the year before, probably because of the rescheduling, and then also it kind of looked like it was going to rain. It didn't end up raining, but I could understand maybe not wanting to set up a yard sale if it looked like it was about to downpour. But we did end up finding a lot of great things on this day, even though there wasn't as many people out. We did end up going to a few other places outside of our community. But I did post everything that we got that day in my last video. So if you want to check that out, I can leave that below. This first sale we were at had so many tins. They also had these little like corn holders that I thought were cute, but I do already have some that are slightly different. But yeah, this one had so many tins. John actually ended up buying this Jack Daniel's tin. I think he's going to resell it on eBay. But I didn't end up picking it up, but right next to it is like an old Ritz tin. My grandparents always had these at their house. I'm assuming you could just buy the crackers in the tins, but it had, it's just a guy dressed in like a suit on it, but it reminds me of like the suits that Fred Astaire would wear. But then, does anyone remember that commercial? I think from the 80s, like putting on the Ritz. I don't know. But anyway, it was a major side tangent there. Loved the really old sewing machine that they had set out on the ground at this one, and they had one of those old mats for playing with like dinky cars. John had one when he was a kid. This next one we're coming up to was actually my favorite one. They had a lot of older things there, but the women, I think it was a mom and a daughter, and then I think maybe like a family friend. It was 3 women anyway. They were so funny and so nice, and I ended up getting quite a few things from there, but there was quite a few things I didn't get that part of me thinks maybe I should have bought that. This glass I think was really funny. I don't know if you pause it you can read it better, but I thought it was quite funny. Looking at it now, I'm like, why didn't I buy that to resell? But I don't know. They didn't have prices on anything, so I always like prefer when people have prices out, but oh well. But I did spot this fondue pot, which is so groovy and so 70s. I already have 2, so I didn't need another one, but part of me thinks now, like, why I probably could have bought that for a couple dollars and resold it, but I don't know, I wasn't thinking like a reseller on this day, I guess, or not until later anyway. They did have a few pieces of Pyrex, but again, they didn't have any prices. I think this one is glass bake. I actually really like the glass bake stuff too, but I'm sort of feeling like I don't need any more casserole dishes or anything. I don't know. But again, when people don't have prices on stuff, I don't know. I always think like, I don't know. I hate when you like ask what the price is and they say like, well, how much do you want to pay or something? Because I always feel like I don't want to say something like too low, but I also don't want to pay more than what they would have like charged for it. But I don't know, so I guess that's why. John's a really good haggler though, but I'm not so much. John ended up buying that Zen art book. But next to the fondue pot, I noticed that they had a Forest Fancies Cinderella bowl. I really like the Forest Fancies pattern. I feel like it kind of fits my vibe, but I definitely feel like that's one of the less popular Pyrex patterns. I think maybe because it was like in the late, or I think early 80s, but it was like one of the last ones I think that they made. I really liked these TV trays as well, but we already have some that we like, so I didn't really need them. But yeah, like I said, I ended up getting quite a few things from here, I think, including that lamp that is on the ground, like brownish one. I love it so much. I'm so happy I found it. Now I have to find like the perfect shade for it. This next yard sale, I ended up getting quite a few things from this one too as well. At first I didn't think it was like looking all that great. It just kind of seemed like a bunch of random miscellaneous things I wasn't interested in, but then I think I did end up finding 2 or 3 things here that I ended up getting. So one of them was this shelf. I'd walked by it earlier and thought, oh, that's kind of nice. It's not really my style right now, but I'm gonna do like a DIY on it, I think, to make it a little bit more my style. But it was only $5 and I thought that was a really great deal. So, and then right after that, I saw this cat who was like meowing. So I was trying to get it to come to me, but it didn't end up coming all the way to me. It seemed very nervous, but I think he was just meowing to get inside his house. But I love cats. This place was selling a lot of like homeware type stuff. And then I noticed that they were selling a toilet seat, and the toilet seat was like not clean. I was like, this is really gross. Actually, a lot of the stuff that they had, it was not the cleanest, so we did not end up getting anything here. But I don't know. It's just such a weird thing to put out for sale and for it to not even be clean. So one of my favorite things about yard sales is being able to find Christmas things during the summertime. So quite a few of them did have some Christmas stuff out, which made me really happy. Because normally, at least in the thrift stores around me, like it's not that typical to find Christmas things until like probably like October, November. Occasionally you'll see something, but I like being able to find things in the summer, and especially if you find stuff at like a yard sale, it's probably going to be even cheaper than at a thrift store. And I found so many Christmas things, including one amazing thing. If you've already watched the haul video, then you know, but I did end up getting that little tin there, but there was a couple of things inside it, but I just said that I didn't want them. It was like a candle and something else, I think, but I thought the tin would be good for decorating and like adding height. They did have a big bin full of trays and things, which some of them are cute, but I didn't really need one. I'm actually thinking about going through all of my Christmas stuff and maybe like decluttering a bit because I have so much. I liked the design on the top of it, but I liked that the side was just plain red. So if I was using it like flat and just stacking on top of it, it would just kind of go with a lot of different things. And then I did notice that they had a couple of these bunnykin dishes. I actually have a whole bunch of these that I'm planning on posting like for sale. So I thought if I could get them relatively cheap, but I think they were actually ended up being pretty chipped. But I also think that the one was actually just stuck inside the other because they wouldn't come apart, but I've never seen them like that before. So I don't know what was going on there, but I decided to pass. At the time, I did not notice that push mower, but it is like my dream to have one of those. But I totally didn't notice it at all until I was watching the footage back. And then I was asking John if he noticed it, and he was like, oh yeah, I noticed it. But he didn't know that I wanted one. So anyway, right across from there was a pretty good sale that had quite a bit of stuff out, including this like older looking table. I really loved these two dishes here. I think they're sort of meant for like a vanity. Thought they would match really well with my bathroom, but that they would also look really good on a vanity, but I just don't have room for them. But I did think they were really pretty. They did also have a few like vintage juice jugs. I actually have quite a few already, like in my own collection, so I didn't feel like I needed to add to it. And in the past, these things have always been like slow sellers, so I didn't bother picking up to resell either. But I did really like the yellow one that I picked up and swirled around. Like looking at it now, I'm like, oh, I should have got that for myself. But really, I don't need any more than what I have. So then on to the next one, I noticed a bunch of Christmas stockings, so I went right to those. The older, like 70s style felt stockings are really, really good sellers for me on Etsy. I've sold so many, so I'm always on the lookout for more. I think I might only have like 2 left in my shop. So I'm hoping to find more, but they were all like a newer style. And then John pointed out this like old coffee maker. We were trying to figure out when it might be from. To me, it kind of has like an early 90s look to it, maybe late 80s. But I like when coffee makers were in this like horizontal style. And then of course, it's not a thrift store or a yard sale without a vintage crock pot. This sale, I found something really, really good at. So while we were looking at the coffee maker and talking, we did hear somebody ask how much the piece was. And we didn't hear how much they said, though. So it is a ceramic tree. And the woman actually said $50 for it, but we didn't hear the price. But the woman scoffed like it was the most outrageous thing in the world. So I had been like looking at the tree, and I thought for sure that woman was going to take it because normally these sell really quick. But so John asked like how much it was, and she said 50, and he was like, okay, it's like sold. But she was like almost hesitant to say 50, I think because the woman had just been kind of rude about it. But she was like, they're really, I forget how she put it, but John was like, no, $50 is well worth the money. So I'm so happy that I got one. And my grandma, I mentioned in the other video, the haul video, but my grandma has actually given me a green one, but I haven't even looked at it yet. It's just still in the box. So I'm kind of excited. I was thinking maybe we could do like an unboxing of that, maybe closer to Christmas. But yeah, I'm so excited I found that. I was definitely not expecting to find something like that at a yard sale for sure. I was hoping I might find some VHS on this yard sale tour we were doing, but we didn't see any, but we did see some DVDs. So I stopped and looked, and I found the 75th anniversary edition of Holiday Inn on DVD, which I did end up getting. Holiday Inn's one of my favorite Christmas movies, and I was super excited to find this, so very excited. And then we ended up finding a bunch more DVDs as well. Then after we left our community yard sale, we drove to this like yard sale in a building. I think they're actually called Sea Cans. So I think that they might have this like on a regular basis, but this was amazing. And if you watched my haul video, then you already know I bought a bunch of stuff here. But so initially just walking up to this table that wasn't even inside, it was filled with things that were free, which I couldn't believe that all this stuff was free, but I ended up getting a bunch of stuff off of this table, and some things to resell and some things to keep for myself. But in the inside of it, there was so much vintage things, which I did get a bunch of things from in there, but now you guys will get to see like all of the things in there that I didn't get. And I'm actually thinking, watching the footage back, there's quite a few things that I ended up seeing. So they did have some VHS here, but I think I had all of the VHS already. But there's quite a few things that I saw watching the footage back that I think I might want to go back and get to resell potentially, because the prices were so insanely cheap. They basically just had tables. I thought this owl was cute, but I don't have any room, but it probably would fit in well with my kitchen theme. So like the full table would just be like everything is $1, and then there'd be like a $2 table. But like these prices are crazy for some of this stuff. If I saw this in a thrift store or in an antique store, it would be much, much higher. So I just thought, wow. But I think the woman just has a ton of stuff that she's just trying to get rid of. At least that's what I gathered from what she was talking about. So I saw this glove and scarf set that was still new in the box. This definitely is probably 1950s or 60s. This is only $1. I remember we had something similar in the thrift store I used to work at, and I think we were selling it for like $25 or something, even though it probably did only cost maybe a couple dollars like originally. It's still like the fact that she was selling it for $1 in 2023 just really surprised me. But yeah, I had heard her mention that some of this stuff had been boxed up for decades. She was talking to like another person that was in there. We saw this old looking like Walkman thing. We're joking about that. But I think everything on this table was $1. So there's a set of glasses on like this wooden tray. Looking at them at the time, I thought, oh, those are nice, but now I kind of want them for myself. I thought these pots were pretty groovy. Like this is something I could probably resell, but I wasn't really thinking about it at the time. I was just thinking, oh, this is nice, but I don't have like a need or room for them. And a lot of this stuff was really cheap too. So this little green set here, I actually did really like, but I thought I don't really have room for it. But it was only $3, and I feel like I could definitely resell it for a lot more than that. So I don't know, if we ever find ourselves back here again, I might pick up a few things to resell. Of course, there's one of those goose or geese. And she had a bunch of vintage board games there, which we definitely got some of those, including we got our favorite board game ever. It's called Careers. We have a 1970s version. That's how we discovered it a few years ago, but they had the 1950s version there. So we definitely had to get that, but we got a few more as well, which I showed in the haul video. But I don't know, she had everything set up so nice, and everything was so clean too. I was tempted to get this like clock radio because the one that I used to have died, but I didn't end up. But again, I'm thinking about, oh, maybe I should have. There was a lot of like lamps and lighting, but I thought this glass swag lamp was so pretty. I don't remember what the prices were on those things, but there was these like plastic camping dishes, which were really cute. And then she had a bunch of old Fisher-Price toys as well, which was so cool. And then she also had the Tupperware like shape ball. I actually had that when I was a kid. My mom, I've mentioned it a million times before, but my mom sold Tupperware in the 80s and 90s. So, but I think I had that TV too, the Fisher-Price TV. I definitely had the phone. I definitely remember that. It's like one of my earliest memories is playing with that phone. So I thought that was really cool. She had pretty reasonable prices actually on them. I was considering whether or not we should buy them to resell, but I think the profit margin was like not big enough that we wanted to bother with it. And then there was a bunch of photos on the wall too, and I saw this one with these parrots, and something about it just really drew me in, and I thought, I think I need to have this. I'm not sure where I'm going to put it yet, but I'm very happy that I bought that. And then she did have some Christmas stuff out. She had some wooden ornaments, which I don't know if they're actually like super old or not, but I do have a massive collection of vintage ornaments, like of wooden ornaments. So I felt like I didn't really need any more. Maybe I'll film that collection this year. I think last year I filmed my like flocked ornament collection. So then we were actually back at the community yard sale because there had been 2 houses we didn't go to before we had gone to the other place. So we were back here looking around before we went in to go to a few thrift stores just like on our way out of where we live. Which it didn't really look like there was too much. Oh, John found a bunch of seasons of 24. That's what he's saying to me now. And then she ended up selling them to us for like $2 for all of them with a bunch. But I spotted this Christmas pillow with a deer on it, and my grandma had these in her house. Like, I think she made them. So it brought back like a huge memory that I had completely forgotten about. I mean, I personally think they're hideous, and I don't think I liked them at the time either, but it was just one of those things that you don't think about for a long time, but then you instantly recognize it as soon as you see it. My grandma would actually probably be horrified thinking about the fact that she had those in her house at that time, because she's very like, her house could be like in a magazine. It's like so beautifully decorated at Christmas. So she would probably say that those were tacky. This place did end up having a bunch of DVDs though, so we did end up looking at a bunch of those, and like I mentioned, we got a whole bunch of DVDs and 3 seasons of 24 for $2, I think. But I didn't film anything else about that. So then we were off to a few thrift stores. So this is the clothing one that we always source from because we're clothing resellers, and I just wanted to show the view because it's so beautiful. So we went in there, and then now we're at another thrift store. This one has bag sales on Thursdays, so we can fill a bag full of clothes for $5. So we try to do this one every now and then. But they recently just started being open on Saturdays, which this was a Saturday, so we thought we would go in and take a look, since normally we can't, like, it's only open from I think 9 until 4 Monday to Friday, and John's always working during those hours, like, even though he works from home. So we figured we'd just go in and have a little look. They were having a book sale, 10 books for $1. I think they were trying to clear out. So I did end up finding some cool books, and John was able to find some as well. But I thought I would find more, but I don't know. I'm not really into fiction books too much. So they had a lot of fiction books, but I always look at them and think, oh, maybe, but I don't know, I'm not really into, yeah. I'm not really into like romance novels, and they seem to have a lot of those. You have a section though full of like glassware stuff that I thought I would show you. I'm not sure if I've filmed in this store before or not. Usually when we're here on bag sale days, it's like really, really busy. So on the back wall, they kind of just have a bunch of dishes and things there. And we've got another geese spotting here. It's so 90s. Like, it takes me right back to the early 90s every time I see it. And I thought it was hideous then, and I still think it's hideous. But for whatever reason, during that era, it was extremely popular. I spotted this cake stand that I was really feeling. It was only $3. I kept forgetting to take my nausea bands off like the whole day. So you kind of, that's what those things are on my arms, if you're wondering. I'm not just wearing some random, like, they remind me of like 80s like sweatbands, but they actually have this piece of plastic that pushes against a pressure point and it stops nausea. They surprisingly actually do work fairly well. This store has multiple different kind of rooms, and so I'm going down into the other room now. They've recently got a bunch of VHS in, although I think I pretty much got all the ones that we didn't have, because down below here was also completely filled with boxes, but you can see they have tons and tons of books, so I can see why they're trying to clear them out, because they're taking up so much space. That whole other bin is filled with books, and then all the boxes underneath. They do have a big selection, and then, yeah, this other rack was also filled with books. And then they do have more kind of like knick-knack things back here on the shelves. And they do have a couple shelves filled with Christmas things. I typically don't see a lot of like vintage Christmas stuff in here though. But all their prices are pretty reasonable in this store. And all of the money, it's like a charity run thrift store. I'm not entirely sure what the charity is, so I don't want to misspeak about it. But the people that work there are super nice too. I think that it's like volunteer run, if I'm not mistaken. And then they have another section with like dishes and things. I did spot this Aladdin thermos. That was only $2, so we got that to resell. These are good sellers for us. We had actually just seen one recently in an antique store, but the profit, what they were charging for it is pretty much what we would sell it for, so we didn't get it. But for $2, that is a great price. And then on the other side, they also have more like dishes and things. They have this, it's like this gravy thing. I'm not even entirely sure. My grandma's been trying to give me one forever though. I think if you like pour it out a certain way, you don't get any of the fat or something like that, but I don't know. And then across from that is another rack with dishes and things. I saw this like salad bowl that's like wooden. This definitely reminds me of the 70s and 80s. And then they do have this big bookcase filled with music, so it's mostly records, but they do have some tapes over there as well. I didn't bother looking through the records. I have looked through all of them before. It's just a really inconvenient way to flip through records. I wish they had them in a bin or something, so it would be a lot easier to flip through, but I kind of have to like almost sit on the ground to get a look at the bottom ones, and I didn't feel like going through it again. I loved this though, this coffee maker. Looking at this now, I'm like, why didn't I buy this to resell? But at the time I just wasn't thinking about that, I guess, but it was really cute. We are in a completely different store now, in case you didn't notice. This is a thrift store that I did a walkthrough about a month or two ago, so I didn't bother showing everything, but we were just back here. I think we came here for a specific reason, but I just don't remember what the reason was. But the owner of the store had been at our community yard sale, so we had been talking to him earlier in the day. And one of the things, I didn't show it on video, but somebody had a Keurig out in their yard sale for $200, and he had seen it as well. So he was like, "Hey, did you see the Keurig out for $200?" And it was just funny. Anyway, after that, we were really hungry, so we stopped at KFC and got this plant-based chicken sandwich that we like with some fries, which was so good. And this KFC looks exactly like it did back in the 80s when I used to live here, even down to like the same benches. So it's very nostalgic. And then after we got done eating, we had to go to the hardware store to get a whippersnipper because ours died. So I noticed that they had the garden center set up. So we took a little stroll through the garden center, and we didn't actually get anything, but we were talking about things we might want to get in the future for our outdoor area. But then we went in to have a look at the whippersnippers. The one that we bought when we moved into our house was like a battery operated one, and it stopped charging. So John decided not to go the battery route anymore. So then we finally got home after a long day of thrifting, but a super fun day. But our cat Marley was so excited that John was home. She's very old. She's like 18. So we were super tired from being out all day, though. So we had another coffee. We just decided to sit down and have a coffee. And Marley was very excited that we were home again because we had two cats. She's 18 and our other cat passed when she was 16. So now when she's home alone, she's really home alone. So I feel bad for her. So then after we drank our coffee, I did film my haul video. And then John had to film a video. So got that done and out of the way. I'm still so excited with all the things that I got. And then later in the day, we just decided, after we had gotten like all of our stuff put away, and we just decided to watch some TV and have some plant-based ice cream. This cookies and cream by Breyers is so good. So it was a long day. We thought this would be a good way to end it, and of course Marley was super excited. But it's really fun. We both really love thrifting and yard saling, so it's really fun to do that together. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. This weekend I'm going to a vintage market, like outdoor market. I'm so excited, and I'm going to try to film some more thrift store walkthroughs and some antique store walkthroughs while I'm in the area, because it's not where we live. So I'm so excited. I was going to film this last year, but it ended up getting canceled. So anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again really soon.